All right, welcome back to Morning Live. The discussion that you are about to have right now is all about FGM, and trust me, female genital cutting, or maybe people like to say female genital mutilation, is still happening in Kenya. Very unfortunate. We just read a story about a Maasai woman, one of the few women in the country who's an excavator. Trust me, operating that machine is not really easy. And from her story, she ran from her village just to pursue her dreams, and she's one of the few women in this country who are doing it. In studio, I'm joined by two gentlemen who've been doing an amazing job just to end this and fight this vice that is still going on in our society. That is Jeremiah Ki Painoi and, of course, Sonyanga Olngais, who are in studio just to talk to us about this and how they've been trying to do this. You've been running a podcast.
Yeah.
Amazing. First of all, before we start talking about this, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, bro.
Good morning. Good morning.
Maasai warriors.
Yeah.
Cricket warriors.
Yeah, cricket warriors.
Interesting. Yeah, and I'm proud to say that you guys have sold Kenya big time as far as tourism is concerned. But for today, let's talk about FGM. Now, I'll start with you, Jeremiah, because now from what you've done today, it simply means you are celebrating your culture also. You're appreciating where you come from, and you want to protect your territory. So FGM, still unfortunate that we still have cases of this thing in parts of Narok, parts of Samburu. It's not a very good picture. How is it so far on the ground?
FGM is still a problem in Kenya. We have the 22 hotspot counties in Kenya, all over the country actually, and it's not just among the Nilotes.
Okay.
It is still a problem because some of them look at it as a religious issue. Some of them feel it's a cultural issue. Some of them just think that since I've undergone it, or my parents have undergone it, they have to have the children go through it. So it's still a very thorny issue in many parts of the country. And people are changing slowly, but the conversation needs to be apt. Yeah.
Okay. Now, guys, you're also from the Maasai cricket warriors. You guys have been doing a good job as far as selling this country out. But you see, when you go out and sell this country, there's this fear you have. For example, when someone approaches you, the other week you were just, was it last year in the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone approaches you and maybe asks you, how is the FGM situation in the country? As much as you guys are done well, you guys are playing cricket, you've sold this country big time, but look at that shame. How do you now try to explain all this?
That's a fact that we have to, to face.
Yeah.
And this is an issue that is, it's a cultural way of life, and we really don't have to be ashamed of speaking of that.
Okay.
Because we believe that the Maasai is the face of Kenya out there.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, we have the retrogressive activities that are actually happening.
Yeah.
And for that culture to be 100% clean, we then have to, stamp out some of the retrogressive part of it. And one of it is female genital mutilation, early marriages, and obviously, gender balance as far as our African societies are concerned.
It's true.
So in one or another, we have to, for us, we use sports to empower the society and also use it as a tool to speak about these issues. And we realize that sport is a very powerful tool for us to use it because it brings all of us together, it unites people. Yeah. And also it's a platform for us to speak about, stopping the FGM and early marriages to the elders who are actually the custodian and the people who are, keeping the Maasai culture alive. Okay. So that's just, in a nutshell, what I would say about putting an end to female genital mutilation. Okay.
Now, Jeremiah, he's mentioned about the traditionalists, the wazee who actually make the culture so alive. How's the response when you go sit down with a mzee back down in the village, the Manyatas, and just talk to him about FGM? Have you ever received some backlash or maybe been chased away? Sometimes these traditionalists they want to maintain what they've been having for long. So how have you tried this, and maybe what's the response?
A few weeks ago, I was in Samburu, and I was sitting with this group of men, and we were discussing about is it going to affect the way the society is structured when they just completely cut off FGM? And to them, they were like, FGM is a very small component of the culture, but what it means is what is usually the problem. Yeah. So cutting the girl
Okay.
is one part of it.
Okay.
And then what that means to the girl, to the man who's going to marry this girl, to the family of this girl, and the family that's going to take this girl maybe in hand in marriage.
Yeah.
There are things that follow up from that.
Yeah.
So for them, they are like, if we stop cutting these girls, then there are things that are not going to work the way they're supposed to work.
Yeah.
And so we started talking about alternatives. Say that cutting, men are not involved in cutting. It's women who are involved in cutting.
Yeah.
Are there ways that we can find alternatives to such?
Okay.
It's something that they've not delved into it. But while having these conversations and reasoning with them, then I realized that they can be solutions. They can offer better solutions than we do.
Yeah.
Because for them, there are things that they attach to. So simply telling them, stop cutting these girls, and it's something that really means a lot to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes brings lots of friction.
Yeah.
Because a girl then doesn't fit, quote unquote, doesn't fit inside the into places where other girls are seated, because now they are considered women.
Yeah.
So if a girl is now graduated into womanhood, then it means that they are not going to behave like girls.
Yeah.
And that transition period is usually marked by cutting.
Okay.
So for me, I'm for meaningful engagement and really trying to engage these people so that they can have the change come from within. Otherwise, it's happened before where we have us coming from wherever we are coming from. We tell these people, this culture is very bad, you should change it, you should leave it. We do whatever we're going to do in those places, leave, and then they are like, okay, they are gone, can we go back to where we were?
Okay.
And so if they do not accept the change themselves, or we start looking at that culture as something that we are not doing because it's prohibited just by the law, then people start hiding behind the backs of policy enforcer, law enforcers, and it is not owned by the community.
Yeah.
And so as long as we have other tenets, things like the law, things like education coming in through that, it's good that the community also embraces it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much more sustainable that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, have we reached a point where we can say we are kind of hitting a success point in fighting against FGM? Because now, year in, year out, we'll be talking about this, but is there progress on the ground?
Yeah, in relation to what's happening like all these years since way before 2007 when the Cricket Warriors was actually founded, there is a great success because we see now, girls going to school.
Okay.
And that means a lot to us because normally what follows, what comes in after the female genital mutilation is an immediate early marriage.
Yeah.
And when we take girls to school, and that's one of our advocacy and things that we actually make sure that we try to encourage girls to go to school and to realize the importance of school. Now that's a great success. And also, with the new laws and the government, confirming and making sure that, no girl is, undergoes this kind of oppression. With the local chiefs also, like with the local NGOs and the partnership. Yeah. And even the community now is, understanding and realizing that female genital mutilation is not actually important. Yeah. What is important is now, to introduce new ways, like the alternative ways of, the alternative ways to the rite of passage. Yeah. And that has been actually been happening not only in the northern Maasai land where I come from, like from Laikipia, but also in the southern Maasai land, like in Kajiado, Narok, and even way up Samburu. Okay. So to me, I can say confidently that there's a lot of progress in relation to, the time we started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You have podcasts and you've interviewed so many influential people around the world, and just regarding so many things surrounding your culture, surrounding FGM. As much as they are being interviewed, they're mostly Westerners, yes, but look at how they perceive us here at home. And it's not only Maasai actually who do this. Yeah. We have so many other communities. The Turkana actually do this, so many communities. But look at what you've done so far, trying to interview these guys, getting the feedback. How is it so far from the international angle?
From an international, I've worked with international partners coming in through different organizations in different projects.
Yeah.
But for the podcast, what I try to focus on is leaders who are working against the anti-FGM,
Okay.
who are working the anti-FGM campaign here in Kenya and outside Kenya.
Okay.
And so we are trying to share experiences. People have to tell the stories and share ideas on how things could be done better. So like the last episode was of a lawyer who has been involved in communities where children really don't have a voice. They don't even have mentors and role models, where policemen sometimes policemen collude with people who like perpetrators, trying to seek justice for these children.
Okay.
And sometimes you find yourself sitting down with someone who's dealt with people who died as a result of FGM in different cases. Sometimes you have a sit down with someone who started off and they had a mentor. So it's basically trying to share ideas on how best could someone run an anti-FGM campaign here in Kenya, but as leaders, people who are involved in the anti-FGM campaign. So how it's been so far, it's been a learning experience for me. However much I've sat down and asked these people so many questions.
Sure.
But it's been a big learning experience for me because I've come to see that these are just normal people doing amazing things in their communities. So I want them to share their stories, their successes, failures, and the lessons that they have learned along the way. And so by sitting down with these people and the journey that they've been able to have, we are able to see, okay, are we working together? Is everyone working alone? Is there anything that we need to change so that we're able to be able to have harmony in the fight against FGM? In working with Westerners, sometimes, honestly speaking, especially when you go to the field, it's very different from sometimes what we see on the screens. Almost all the time, when you go to the field, especially in a village, people cry. And they get there, get very emotional, and they just want to start changing things there and then. And then when they leave that place, they're very frustrated, and they've not helped anyone.
Just hold it right there. When you come back now, I'll continue this conversation. Taking a short break, right in Morning Live. Now, when you come back, Olengais Jeremiah will now be telling us about going to the ground. He's mentioned it now on his, of course, podcast. But now, when you go to the ground and now get the reality of the matter, because as much as you're talking about FGM, yes, they've seen it all, they've been on the ground, but how is it on the ground? So all that's coming to you after a short break. Welcome back to Morning Live. In studio, I have Jeremiah Kipainoi and Sonyanga Olengais. And of course, Olengais is from the Maasai Cricket Warriors, and Jeremiah has been doing an amazing job just to try and sensitize guys against FGM. And during the break, there's some hilarious stories in studio. And trust me, there's some people, traditionalists out here, who don't want this to go away. I don't know why. Now, Jeremiah, you were expounding on something, because now, before we took a break, the issue about interviewing Westerners in your podcasts, and also the perceptions they give you, as much as you focus on the anti-FGM personalities, the impact. You know, at the end of the day, you might sit down, we talk about this, interview all those manner of people, anti-FGM, everybody. But you know, once you switch off the microphone, you are alone, man. You know what I mean? Eh? So how has it been? Because as much as you're interviewing them, the impact, do they do anything tangible to make sure that this thing is like just got rid of?
Without going straight to the ground, the reason why I did this podcast from the first place is that I realized that everyone is genuinely trying to do what they can do, but the coordinated efforts were not very well coordinated. And so I said, why don't we do something that the activists can own? And so, although the anti-FGM body is mandated to bring all these stakeholders together, I also felt that it's good that they are able to share their stories and experiences, and they are able to work in a much more fluid way. And so we were talking about going to the ground and the experiences that are there. I say that it's a little bit different from what sometimes we might think things are like.
Okay.
You go to the ground and people are like, this is normal life for us.
Yeah,
And sometimes you can get very frustrated when you go there because you feel like you people are not seeing these things, but they are so...
It's true that.
This is something that everyone should see, that it's not supposed to be done this way, but it's very normal to them, so it can be very frustrating to some people. People cry in the field, so
I know, I can imagine.
it's a little bit different. It's a little bit difficult for someone who's going there as a new person.
Now, Alongais, as much as you're concentrating on the Maasai community, I'm looking at Turkana, Pokot. This thing is still going on. Yeah, I understand you guys will protect your territory first. You make sure your territory is actually now better. But look at these traditionalists who sometimes haven't learned just to move on from now that situation to the new work of modernity. Have you ever tried to even traverse other areas apart from the Maasai land?
We have actually not only worked within the Maasai land, but we have partnered with different NGOs that actually come from different areas. Like we have, some from Pokot, some from, mostly from Pokot. And so for us, it's just about trying to put an end to this vice, as you did put it, because it's affecting all of us. And female genital mutilation, it's quite different. Because it's not an important issue that ladies or girls must have to undergo. But also, like, talking of the podcast, personally I came up with a kind of a production. I'm a film producer, and I create stories, and so I founded what is called Selinken and Ma Films, and the
just come again,
Selinken and Ma Films.
Selinken and Ma Films.
Yeah, it's
it's a Maasai term.
Meaning it's Selinken means ladies in Maasai. So this is a production where young girls, we create stories and like short films and kind of comic, but in a way we use them to speak out. And for these ladies, as a platform for them to, to talk about these issues that are affecting them. And to me, it's really like reached to a lot of Maasai. Because there's not a lot of Maasai content online. But now with the Selinken Emma, it can be found on my YouTube channel, which is called This is Sonyanga.
Oh, This is Sonyanga.
Yeah, This is Sonyanga on YouTube. And obviously, don't forget to subscribe.
Goodness.
I
know what it means. Hit the like button, that link. Anyway,
so I've always wanted to get out there and get the Maasai stories, being told by the indigenous people and in the right way. But now here is the Maasai ladies, young ladies, very creative. Obviously, I direct them. But then we have to make sure that the message out there, get to the people. And also, a lot of people really are, pressing. They want that we produce more and more episodes. But then these ladies are in school. And so, so for me, I believe what he said, the another platform for us to, bring about change is using, what's happening in the current world. That is civilization, the availability of the internet, and the fact that everyone is on the smartphone, so they can get the information very quickly and to so many people, other than just like walking, because sometimes it's quite expensive to get to places. But with this technology, we can get to a lot of people.
I have a tricky question for you too. Podcast, TV production, you have your own YouTube channel, but look at your target. As much as you're trying to put this out there for people to understand that this thing is still happening, but have you zeroed in on the people who are mostly affected, the young girls in the community? Because now, when you talk about network, I'll talk from experience. I've been to Kajiado, and my friend, it's not funny. There's no network. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Now, accessing mobile phones to your target groups, how have you made it possible? Because already, as much as you're trying to use podcast and YouTube channels, these are electronic gadgets, which of course need so much sophisticated and user-friendly guidelines to reach. But look at the young girls who are suffering down there. Can they be able to access what's going on?
So let me begin. The podcast is a just one component.
Okay.
If you go to my website, you'll be able to see other things that.
Now you tell us the details of your website.
Yeah.
Sure. www. Yeah. Sure.
www.kipainoi.com.
Okay.
KIPAINOI.com.
Okay.
So podcast is just a component, and
Okay.
the podcast is not targeted towards the community.
Aha.
It's targeted towards people who are working to like anti-FGM campaigners.
Putting heads together to end this now.
Yes,
Okay.
but
Makes sense.
in campaigns, we go to the ground. We have sit downs. We have the under the tree meetings.
Okay.
We have hall meetings. We sit with old men, young people, also women, depending on the situations and the setups that are coming up due to the circumstances that are there. So sometimes you can go to a place like South Hall, and there are no halls, so you have to do that.
Interesting, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's not limited. Also, just as you said about culture, it's true about the connectivity. It's true. But one thing I noticed, and he'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll also confidently say something about Selinkene Ma films is. I speak the language, and it's very comical. What happens is they don't have the internet, but people tell you nieke kwa simu or nieke kwa flash, si kwa flash SD card, nieke kwa memory. Yeah, that's what they say.
They're aware of the. Okay, I'm not trying to say that. I know what happens. So they know SD cards.
Yeah, even 3GP plays on memory cards, and it's truly amazing. There's something we created also. A while ago, and we created it in Kajiado. And then we went to Marsabit, and we were very surprised because someone came and said, it's you! And he produced the video.
Interesting.
And Marsabit, that's among the Ichamus.
I like the fact that you're demystifying this, this perception about Maasai, about Akiona TV, it's been kind of, it's chaotic, you know what I mean? So I think I like the fact that you guys are demystifying this thing, and from maybe his sentiments, look at now accessibility of these gadgets, power. Some centers actually can offer to charge phones for free. I'm glad there's some centers. And look at now, accessibility to information. This is now a big thing, another turning of events now. Are you using it now to even reach these people? You know, the target, the core group that is actually affected. Now, SD card, someone niweke kwa SD card, niweke pahali, that's a good thing. Yeah, are you using it?
Yeah, obviously we cannot trying to run away from the reality. The reality is that we are changing at a very fast rate, and if you try to understand, and even from some statistics, it shows that the Maasai will come to an end at some time. I mean the culture, and that shows that technology is approaching at a very, very fast rate, and we have to accept that, and we actually have to utilize that, even if it's not available in some areas, but it's coming. But now is the time for us to start that as one of the ways for us, to get out there and, try to reach these people. Yes, if, statistically, I remember maybe around in 2000, there was no even telephone. But now, almost a lot of people, maybe 60% from the regions that used not to have the telephone, now have.
And I've seen something common. Dudhi, goodness. Piki. Everyone knows how to ride a piki in Maasai. Wow.
So that shows that technology is getting to the interior, and I'm sure with times to come, maybe with the installation of the satellite over Africa, which was actually going to happen but didn't happen. It exploded at some point. So when that is going, if that happens at some point, then that means we will all have accessibility to internet. And what will people have? They'll have the smartphone, obviously, and they'll access the already content or the ongoing content.
It's true that
out there.
It's true that. Now, on a personal angle, are you happy about the fight against FGM so far?
I think you're headed somewhere. We are having concerted efforts. We are having people coming together. We've had many people who would never have met if they're on. I would speak even for the anti-FGM board, because it's the one that's mandated to bring people together. I'm happy that they are able to convert these people. So by bringing these people together, by having policies now being implemented. Acts that were passed have been lying sometimes, not very effective in the grassroots. Having policemen trained on how the act should work, having young people involved in running of these campaigns, I think you are headed somewhere. And for me, the most important thing is that if we are now trying to involve different stakeholders. In the past, someone would just wake up, have a CBO, and they passionately go and try rescue girls and put them in school. But today we are seeing people coming together with religious leaders, because there are some people practice FGM because they say it's part of our religion. We see cultural elders being involved. We see women who are who are almost all the time, if not all the time, the ones who cut these girls. Sometimes even the husbands do not know, and then the women are just cut the girls without the father knowing, and then the father is just told it's done. We have even the girls, some of them, actually many of them, because that's what they see in their communities, want to be cut because they don't want to be left out. So I see different people coming together, trying to involve everyone in the community, and I think that is very helpful because it helps speed up and let the community own the process, and also bring the change from inside the community. In the past, we've had people just doing it themselves. I think the angle that we're now taking it to is not creating like, quote unquote, let me say heroes, but can we just create a movement that can sweep through the whole community and have them own it, and then they understand that it's important not to do this act, and it's important to also pursue other things that are coming in, like education, that will help us in the long run.
As we're finalizing this conversation, there's someone who had a concern about demonstration against FGM. They're done in cities and not down there. Why are they done in cities too? Maybe working these anti-FGM bodies, or why is it done in Nairobi, in Narok Town? In Narok Town, I understand there's some kind of a link towards the people on the ground, but why does it happen in the cities now?
Normally what happens is that a lot of people are just warming the seats in Nairobi, but then they're not actually going to the...
Also being reminded.
They're not going to the grounds to do the actual work. And you'll realize that the NGOs receive a lot of funding, but most of them doesn't actually go to the grassroots to actually bring that change that the money, or for example, the funding is intended for. So that's why you see a lot of people, the things are just happening in Nairobi and in these big cities. So to me, the challenge is, let people get out there and do the actual work, because this is the thing we started and we have to do it to the end.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, Sonyanga and Jeremiah, for coming to studio. Good job you're doing, and continue the good job, because now I believe the fight is still on. It's not over. But one thing I still insist on the ground, because now even the men, actually, the ladies actually, who now do these things.